Hello, this is Miss Schrader. Today we are going to be talking about Michelangelo's statue of David, which you can see the face of here. My students, you want to be taking notes, and when you're done, you want to give me between 7 and 10 sentences about Michelangelo's statue of David. So here is your fact sheet. Michelangelo's statue of David is a marble statue. It's 13 feet, 5 inches in height, so it's incredibly tall. It was carved between 1501 and 1504 and was supposed to be placed at the top of a government building, the Palazzo Vecchio. Because of its huge size, it was placed in the courtyard instead. By 1873, it was showing signs of damage due to pollution and traffic and was moved indoors to the Galleria della Accademia, where it stands today, and a replica stands in its original place. David was a very popular theme in medieval and Renaissance periods. The story of David and Goliath is a favorite for children to this very day. In this story, the shepherd boy David kills the giant Goliath. You need to be looking at the statue and noticing that it is looking very similar to ancient Greek and Roman pieces, even though it is based on a biblical story. So as you look at it, and remember it's naked and I'm trying to make sure that you see as little as possible, think about the fact that, the Greeks as well as the Renaissance artists really thought that the human body was really beautiful. Here is a map showing Florence, Italy. Florence is considered the birthplace of Renaissance art. Huge numbers of artists wanted to be in Florence, and a large amount of the art that they made is still there. And here we have the Palazzo Vecchio in Florence. This is the building in which the statue of David originally stood in front of it, eventually moved into the Galleria dell'Accademia. I do not have a decent picture of that, so I am not going to be bothering to try and show you it. So before we look at the statue of David, I want to talk about the story because the story is really important. This is a biblical story about David, who eventually becomes king of Israel. But this story is about him as a little boy, a shepherd boy, taking care of his father's sheep. He's 10, 11, 12 years of age. He goes to visit his brothers who are soldiers in the army. The army of Israel are fighting against the Philistines. Every day, a giant from the Philistines' side, a guy named Goliath, steps out and says, "Hey, I'll fight anybody, single combat." Single combat was the idea that two guys, one from each side, are fighting. Whoever wins, their side wins the war. Nobody's willing to take Goliath on because he's a giant. And David says, "Come on, why doesn't anybody fight him?" And they all say, "Look at him, he's a giant." And David says, "When I take care of my father's sheep, if a wolf comes along to take one of the sheep, I chase that wolf down and I kill it to prevent it from taking one of the sheep." So he steps forward, he says, "I'll fight you." And Goliath looks at him and thinks, he's a little kid, I'm going to beat him up. So Goliath rushes forward to kill David. David takes out his slingshot, which is the weapon he would use against the wolf. His slingshot is just a strap of leather cloth. He puts the stone in the center, he swings it round and round, he releases it because he has trained up really well at this, he knows how to aim it well. The stone hits Goliath in the middle of the forehead, killing him. People love this story, the idea of the little guy beating the giant. People use this story all the time, the mom and pop business that beats the big corporation. Everybody talks about it. This is a story that is big with children. Even if you're the little guy, you can defeat the big guy. And it's such an important story that, in fact, the word Goliath has come to refer to someone or something that is a giant. In fact, here we have something that is referred to as a Goliath beetle. It's really large and disgusting. Before we go on to take a look at Michelangelo's David, I want to show you another one, an earlier one first. And I'm trying to make sure that it's censored, but it is being shown nude. But I want you to take a look at Donatello's David. So this is Donatello's David. It's about 100 years older than Michelangelo's, done in bronze, about 5 feet tall, so much smaller. The main thing that I want you to look at is that Donatello's David is a little boy. He's about 10, 11, 12 years of age. For reasons that I don't understand, yeah, once again, he's naked, except that he's wearing a pair of boots and what looks to be a flowering hat. Not really certain why. He's got a sword. If you look at his feet, he has just chopped off Goliath's head. And once again, as we talk about this, I want to remind you that they're trying to make their artwork look like the ancient Greek and Roman stuff, and that's why they're constantly showing them as nude. And here we have Michelangelo's David, properly censored for you. I hope you appreciate that. To begin with, I do want you to look at how much it looks like the ancient Greek and Roman pieces. Definitely, he's making an effort to do that. The next thing, yeah, remember, it is 13 feet 5 inches. It's enormous. And it shows a great deal of muscle tone, and it is completely naked. Here is David's face. One of the things I first want you to look at and notice is that he's not a little boy at all. He looks to be about 18, 19, 20 years of age. So he's a young man. Then I want you to be thinking once again about those ancient Greek and Roman statues. Michelangelo has intentionally made sure that this face looks similar to those. Also, you should be able to see that, he's not wearing any clothing, but on his shoulder, his left shoulder, he has the slingshot. And according to the way it's been explained to me, he hasn't yet killed Goliath. He's got the slingshot there on his shoulder. He's kind of looking over his shoulder, thinking about how he's going to go about doing this. Now here you get an idea of the muscle tone that he's done in the chest area and the stomach. Remember, this is a marble statue. It's made of stone, but the detail is so good. He's making sure that it looks like a real human being. And remember, with Renaissance artists, what they were hoping to do with their sculptures is make it look as though the person has paused in movement, and in a minute they're going to continue moving forward. I did want to let you see what he looks like in situ in the place where you can see him now. One of the things I'm hoping you can see, even from a little bit of a distance, is that his right hand is shown larger than his left hand. Remember, his right hand would be the hand with which he would take that slingshot and his stone and fling the stone at Goliath, killing him. And this is one of my favorite pictures of what they've done with David. They put some pants on him. Can you imagine how much fabric it is going to take when he's 13 feet 5 inches tall? And they're probably going to have to sew that on and then unsew it when they take it off. But this is a lot of fun. And here's a fun one. I'm assuming they've made a copy. He doesn't look really, really tall this time, so perhaps he is made life-size and taken out and looks really fun. And one more before we call it a day. My students, when you're done, you want to be giving me between 7 and 10 sentences about what you found interesting, educational, and important about Michelangelo's statue of David. Thank you.